Hello, good morning, afternoon or evening, and welcome to a Gooner Ramble. We're coming back to you today after a more positive result, a 2-1 win against Crystal Palace away. And joining us this evening, we have over in the land of America, it's Judd. How are you doing, Judd?
Much better than I was a week ago.
Good. And much closer to home, we have Clive. Clive, how are you?
Hello, mate. I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I feel a lot better today. Still a bit jittery, but nearly had a heart attack, but it's all good. It's all good. We got there in the end. But going into today's game, obviously after that dreadful start to the season, we needed a bounce back, we needed a reaction, and we certainly got one, but we'll go more into depth about that a bit later on. But what did you guys make of the lineup today? I know obviously Bellerin come in for Debuchy. Oxlade-Chamberlain was dropped, which was a shock, but in the end obviously it proved right with the result. Some say maybe not, some say maybe do, but where do you guys stand on it? I don't know who wants to come in first. Clive, do you want to come in first on the lineup?
Okay, yeah, obviously Bellerin came in. No surprise really. Debuchy last week was a little bit rusty, and I sort of heard afterwards that was his first start against West Ham since January, his first Premiership start. So really, that's a long time. That's 8 months. So we have to maybe wind back our expectations on him. And Bellerin has obviously ended the season very well. And I felt we missed his dynamism a little bit last week. So he came in and he did well today. I felt also, rest of the lineup was pretty much predictable. There was a thing about Oxlade-Chamberlain, and there's lots of chatter this week around Ramsey versus Oxlade-Chamberlain. Wenger maybe predictably went for Ramsey as the ex-midfielder away from home, and it really is almost like a 50-50 split really on whether Ramsey fits that role out wide. But when Bellerin plays, it's less of a question as to his ability and mobility. And Ramsey is a very unpredictable player. I'm sure we will talk about him later. But yeah, the rest of the night was pretty predictable, and I was actually pleased to see Giroud start. I like the structure he gives us. So yeah, the rest is pretty predictable at the moment. And Sanchez came back in. That was obvious. He's going to come back in. He really is our talisman. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
And Judd, what about yourself with the lineup? Some people did question Sanchez coming back in. For me, I thought he's had 2 weeks. He has to play, doesn't he? Even if at 70%, he still looked one of the best players out there. So God knows what he'd be like when he hits 100 again.
Absolutely, and I mean, you can tell by his reaction when he was taken off that he was just chomping at the bit to get back out there. I mean, he was none too pleased to be substituted, but that's what you want out of a player. But yeah, I mean, I'd echo Clive's take for the most part. I thought that, it was obviously, the right decision to bring Sanchez back in. Who you take out for him is really a coin toss. And like Clive was saying, Ramsey's kind of 50-50 whether he really fits that role out wide or not. And, Ox, I think, is definitely a wide player. And, really any one of those guys coming off the bench is always going to be, an amazing option to have. So, yeah, really the rest of it was no surprise. Bellerin coming back in for Debuchy wasn't really a surprise. He's been played so well at the end of last year, and Debuchy's really coming off more or less an entire year off, with his broken leg and then a shoulder. So not really a surprise to see him back in the lineup. I think he does give us a little bit more support going forward. And like I said last week with the forwards, I'm kind of split. I think Giroud or Walcott, either one, depending on the matchup, and both of them give us a great option off the bench. So I wasn't, upset to see Giroud. Wouldn't have been surprised to see Walcott either, though.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Well, we were playing well for the first 20 minutes. Alexis had a few chances that he squandered. He took it round the keeper, and then fortunately Ward or whatever was on the line to block him. He looked quite promising. Ozil was electric as always, trying to set things up, and eventually we break the deadlock. Now, I don't know about you guys, some people are saying it was an overhit cross that Giroud sort of made the best out of. Other people are saying, it's sort of a fluky goal. I personally thought it was class. So, I don't know, what did you guys make of the goal?
I thought it was a great goal, and it's just
great goal, yeah.
It's a sort of goal that people have been wanting Giroud to score. Them sort of goals when he's almost not made the chance himself, but made something out of nothing. And that's a lot of the reasons why people have been like talking. We need another striker. I have my view on that, and I don't think we do. I think we need another forward. But I'm happy with another wide player, and I'm happy with the rotational way and collective way Arsenal play. So I don't think we need another stick-on centre forward, because we've got a lot of these wide players that want to be centre forward. So why buy another centre forward? For me, we should buy another wide player. But Giroud, I think he really made something out of nothing there, and that is exactly what Arsenal fans want to see from him. Half a chance, back of the net, goal. First goal, when we score first, we very rarely lose, and we mostly win. So it's a very important moment today, and I felt pleased for him, because he's under a lot of pressure, a lot of spotlight. Every single person's talking about Arsenal getting a new centre forward. It's like, so you like being at work and everyone's talking about someone coming in to take your job. It's unsettling. You know, it must be unsettling. I think he's doing really well to manage that. I thought he played really well today.
It was his first goal in 625 minutes as well, so he went 8 Premier League games without scoring. So hopefully, it's one of them where when you get one and more come along. What about you, Judd? What was your reaction to the goal?
I mean,
obviously
I thought
you celebrated, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
Yeah,
and I think that's overstated the length of time without the goal, because he did score in the FA Cup final. It was in garbage time when we were already 3-1 up, or whatever it was at that point. I don't exactly recall, but as for an overhit cross, I thought that was exactly what was intended. There wasn't, it's a tight space to play the ball into, and as a crossing player, you're taught to just put the ball into a dangerous spot, and he put it in there with pace so that the defenders wouldn't have time to react to it. And it was slightly behind Giroud, but it was right where it needed to be, and it was perfect in the end.
Yeah.
Overhit, come on, splitting hairs at that point. But yeah. I thought he played well. It was a nice change from last week. I think he had a couple more opportunities, a little bit more time on the ball than last week. We, struggled at times to really get anything built going forward last week. This week I thought we did much better as an entire squad going forward. Yeah,
I certainly saw they wanted a reaction, and some of the players that I personally sort of, had an aim at, they definitely reacted. But carrying on into the first half, we do the typical Arsenal thing of we score and sort of invite pressure on, and Palace were hammering us a bit. They were going a bit down the wings with Balassi, who obviously got taken off second half, wasn't very fit himself, and Zaha and some others. And then all of a sudden, Ward gets an opportunity. Some people are saying, Balassi or whatever was offside in the build-up, and he absolutely levers one. And, for me, Koscielny turns his back on it. And again, I personally thought Shep could have done better, but other people have gone, that's harsh. I judge you're our goalkeeping expert per se. Do you think Shep, that's a bit harsh? Because obviously I know Koscielny blocks his view. I know he sort of blocks his view, but at the same time, it's that sort of near post again. Should he get down a bit quicker? What do you think?
Well, it wasn't really near post. I mean, he was taking the shot from the keeper's left across the goal, so I cut him a little bit of slack. And like you were saying, Koscielny was kind of screening him a little bit. And like we said last week, you hope that a keeper like Cech is the type that is able to get you a couple saves that you wouldn't expect him to make throughout the course of the season. And I think that today's shot was one of those that you'd like to see him make that save. It's not one that you fully expect him to make, but it's one that he would make a difference if he does. And you hope that he's that classic keeper that's able to make those types of saves. But I thought beyond Cech and Koscielny, I think it was Alexis that was kind of slow getting back on Ward. He either needs to be communicating more or doing something to help get back, or maybe he was and nobody was responding to his communication. But there was a lot of slack in the defense that allowed Ward the time to take that shot, I thought.
Yeah, it just seemed nobody was closing him down, did it? It was a bit like who's going towards him. It just really was baffling. But again, it's another sort of average player scoring
a little bit of
goal against Arsenal again. Yeah.
Always seems to happen.
Seems to happen so much. I remember that Neil Mellor or whatever scored that goal years ago for Liverpool. We never saw him again, and he appears on Soccer Saturday once in a blue moon as a pundit.
You watch the season recaps where they show the goals of the season, and they show like 5 for every month. It seems like every month 2 of them are scored against Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Clive, what did you make of it? I mean, Koscielny, that's 2 weeks in a row now. He's sort of turned his back on the shot. What do you think that is?
We're almost in an extended pre-season, right? Because I wasn't on last week, so the one thing you noticed about last week that we just weren't at the level of intensity, offensively or defensively. Today we went out there and said, okay, we're going to play now, so we're much sharper going forward. We dominated the early part of the game. Beautiful football. You're thinking, okay, we need 2 goals. We know Palace will always have a moment of pressure, and they'll probably score 1, but so we need 2. We missed a couple of quite easy chances, and there's a real issue with our efficiency in the last third. In the last 2 games, we've made over 40 chances, and we've got 2 goals to show for it. One of which is an own goal, right? So it isn't good enough really, and so we're on top of the game, totally controlling it, and Ward hits that shot against when I'm playing, it goes in, and the first thing is Judd's right. Sanchez didn't come back on his man. But there is no way that Koscielny can just stand there and turn, make himself smaller. Once he does that, what he's doing, he's blocking the goalkeeper's line of sight. And what you do when you're a defender is you close the space down between the man that's shooting and yourself and the ball, and you attack that ball and you make yourself bigger. What you don't do is stand still and turn sideways. And I don't know why. Yeah. I mean, because he is we all love him, right? He's top class. But that's 2 weeks now. On the goal last week, Zarati's goal, Mertesacker and Koscielny stood, covered up their privates, and just let the guy shoot, and they blocked Cech's view. So Cech had to guess, and his weight is on the wrong foot, and it goes in near post. His Cech looks the idiot. But really what should be happening is the defender should be pressing the ball, and then Cech can react on what his defenders are doing. And it's happened twice now. So that's a problem. There's normally 4 or 5 mistakes in any goal, and that's a problem that needs to be rectified. And I put it down to just fitness, lack of consistent intensity. When they're up to speed, that defensive intensity will be there, and it was there later in the game, to be honest. So perfect shot from Ward, inside off the post. I mean, the one place where the keeper couldn't reach it. I mean, it's a perfect shot. And hey, we got punished. And they got maximum reward for barely being in the game, and all of a sudden it's 1-1 as we go up to half time.
Well, building off of what Clive said, I don't know if it happens at the professional level, but I used to talk to the defenders that I was playing against, and I would tell them that my left side's my weaker side. So if you can, try to shade them to shoot to the right. I don't know if they do that at the professional level. Maybe that's an understanding that they just haven't developed with Cech yet. But, Clive's right. You can't just be standing off the ball and then turn and making yourself thin. That just doesn't work. If
you look at the Chelsea centre-backs, right, James, what's their number 1 strength, right? Their number 1 strength between Cahill and Terry is they are fantastic shot blockers. They play narrow, Chelsea, but they fling themselves at shots. Cech's probably thinking, well, this shot isn't coming through. And our centre-backs are just... they're not always like that. They're good players. Yeah. But just these last 2 games, we've been really punished for a lack of intensity on charging down shots, really.
Do you think the players sort of bought into the whole media thing of, don't worry, Cech will save us, so many points? And I think I watched a few videos after the game and some other bits, and some people, listened to a bit of radio, and they summed it up. They went, he'd come in as the God Almighty, thinking. Some Arsenal fans sort of thought he wouldn't concede a goal all season, and now he's conceded 3 in the first 2 games. They're a bit angry. I'm like, well, he was always going to concede goals. I don't know why people didn't think he'd concede at all, like he wouldn't concede any. So I just think it's a bit harsh, but obviously needs with must. That was the big position for me, was the goalkeeper, and I think towards the end of the game, he sort of flapped it across in the towards the later stages, but other than that, he was relatively solid. But going into the second half, I mean, we end the first half and Monreal, Koscielny and Mertesacker didn't even make a tackle first half, Clive. So, Bellerin was the highest tackler on the day in the defence, but they didn't make a single tackle the first half.
Yeah.
But going into the second half, Coquelin for me, lucky boy. He could have easily been sent off, and they had a chance from Connor Wickham that, if it wasn't for the post, poor blimey, it could have been a bad day. And then Alexis Sanchez, what a guy. He jumps up, and that Ward's got a good few inches on him height-wise, and luckily gets a deflection, and it's 2-1, but it was happy days, wasn't it? I got some stats today. He made 6 tackles today compared to his 0 he made last week. And also he had 93% passing, which, is a lot better because last week he was trying some kind of, he was trying all the Hollywood passes and he needed to go back to basics, and I think he'd done that brilliantly today. But that's more so, I think, having Cazorla next to him anyway. I think he struggled with Ramsey in the centre last week.
I think last week he was sort of criticised for playing a few Hollywood balls. And my thought on that was that basically he normally has Cazorla next to him. When Cazorla, what he does very cleverly is he keeps his distances close to Coquelin. So he's the one taking the ball forward. He's the one playing the through balls. Last week with Ramsey, for the first half at least, Coquelin was forced to do 2 jobs, which was do a bit of playmaking and take a few more risky passes which went wrong. And people were really quick to criticise him and really think and ask the question, can we rely on him for the season? I don't think he played very bad last week. I think he played well. And he was one of our better players when in a day when almost everybody wasn't up to speed. And today he started the game off really well again. He looked really sharp. The whole team looked sharper. But what he does do, and what we like him for, is that he goes to ground a lot, which is great until you get booked. Once you get booked and you go to ground, referees love to bring out that second yellow card. I think he was really lucky today that Lee Mason didn't bring out the second yellow. No matter what the Palace players were doing and rolling, and they were obviously playing off him, he did risk it and maybe encourage the attention of the referee and the crowd just for the things that we like him doing. The way he steals in, slides in, nicks the ball around the side. All it takes is for a player to dive, scream, make a big noise, crowd go up, and that's a yellow card for doing barely nothing. So he's got to be a bit smarter. He's got to press the game sometimes when he's on a yellow, staying on his feet, pressing the space, don't have to dive in, hold the man up, shield him away, wait till other people get around. Just be a little bit cuter when you're on the yellow, because he's a crucial player for us, and I think we are going to miss him with suspension at some point, because of the way he tackles, he does attract cards.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I myself has been worried about that all season, but hopefully that'll get rectified. I don't know if the checkbook's redundant or not. But Judd, what did you make of Coquelin yourself? Did you think he was a lucky boy today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without a doubt.
I definitely thought once he shoved that player, I was like, that's it now.
Well, that's part of playing that position. Part of his role is to disrupt the other team coming forward. Stop them from getting a quick counter, stop them from getting out of their defensive third, and you get one of those a game because that's going to be viewed as a professional foul and it's going to automatically be a yellow. And right at the beginning of the second half, he had another one of those where he was called upon to stop them from getting a quick counter out of the defense, and that's exactly what he did. He was, just a little bit late. I thought that was a soft foul, but it was one of those where it could be construed as being, one of those professional fouls, and it could have very easily been a second yellow, and quite possibly should have been. But he was very fortunate that Lee Mason took a kind view and let it slide today. But yeah, he could have very easily been sent off there, and kind of building on that topic of Coquelin in general, when he was on that yellow and you could see that he was maybe just, minutes away from getting a second one, I was sitting here thinking, who the heck are we going to bring on? Because this is one thing that we've been asking all summer long is how, who are we going to get as cover? And when Mager brought on Ox, I'm like, man, what is that going to do? And then they dropped Ramsey back into the middle. Ramsey, he, statistically does a good job in the middle, but you watch the way he plays. His first thought is to get forward all the time. Yeah. We're 25 minutes away from a one goal lead, 25 minutes left, and he's our most advanced midfielder. And he's supposed to be back there as,
that's exactly
stopgap
PM. Come on, wasn't it? He tried that volley or whatever. I'm like, well, all right, it was a good chance, but at the same time, you're meant to be, I love Cazorla the bits, and Cazorla did his shift today. He was brilliant, got his tackles in. But Cazorla's not the ball. He's not meant to be the physical ball winner there.
And neither of them really are, though. I mean, yeah, maybe that's the role that he's supposed to be filling at that point. Yeah. But he's not really a ball-winning midfielder, is he?
No.
Let's be honest.
I mean, when that's the role that you have to play, and you're at the other end of the pitch, it doesn't look good. It doesn't make it good.
You're more advanced than the forwards at that point. But, I will say, one of the questions we had today, so I'll just go ahead and get into it, is from the boring girl at Tashez. One of the questions in her tweet was, is Mikel good enough cover for Francis? If you would have asked me that question yesterday, I would have said absolutely not. So I don't want to be knee-jerk and now say that he is, but I thought today, on the day, he was by far better defensively than Coughlin when he was out there. He was much more calm. He probably had just as many tackles. I haven't looked at the stats, so I could be way off base. Yeah, he had 4 tackles in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, he was immense when he came on.
I thought he was very good. I tweeted out that Wenger seems to be using Arteta like Van Gaal is using Schweinsteiger. Bring him on for the last 20-25 to close out games and to manage games for him. Right. So it's quite interesting today. Arteta came on, and it was Cazorla that played slightly deeper. And Arteta was moving around slightly higher up and engaging higher up, which means he tackled higher up. And I thought he did really well. Had a great tackle in the box, which stopped them in a dangerous situation. And, maybe he's not dead. I have one of my tweets, really. Maybe he's not dead, and he has got a part to play. And but yeah, coming back to Coquelin, I think he's without peer, right? He's our number one for me. He does that role, but we expose him a lot. So we leave him alone, and he does that job. 2-on-1, makes a big tackle. But when you get it wrong in wide spaces and you go to ground, that's a definite yellow. That's an easy yellow for a referee. So we have to work this out, that we're going to lose him. And what do? We then got a number of certain midfielders that don't really want to do his job. And the only one that's prepared to sacrifice his game is Cazorla. And I love that about him. He's not built for it, but he's the one that stays deepest. He's the one that runs back and makes tackles, makes headers. And I get a little bit concerned about, Arsenal were built on this collective, cohesive spirit. I want to see Ramsey do it more. And I want to see him be part of that collective more defensively and not just offensively. So I've got a problem with that with him at the moment. And when I see that, I'll be a lot happier than when he joins a collective on both sides of the game.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. Well, if you had to, pluck a man of the match out there today, who would you guys go for? It caused a lot of debate online. A lot of people going, I can't believe it was Cazorla. I thought it was Ozil. What did you guys make of it? Who did you pick? Me personally, I thought Ozil. 98% on his passing. He made 5 chances and got 1 assist. I think that's, he proved me wrong, especially from last week. So, what do you guys make of man of the match?
For me, I could see it was either Ozil or Giroud. I think that they both played pivotal roles in the team as a whole, and definitely had a massive influence on the result. Clearly, it was one of those where last week everybody played bad. I think this week it was everybody played well. So there wasn't like a clear standout this week, but yeah, for me, I'd probably tip it to Ozil as a whole. So I guess I kind of agree with what you were saying.
No, I do think Cazorla put in a fantastic shift though, and some people said Arteta was brilliant when he come on, and Bellerin, like I said, highest tackling defender at the back. So, and I've said it on here that I think Debuchy's the better defender, but I prefer having Bellerin just for the point of view of offensively. I think he just works wonders, and his crossings are not too shabby, and he's got the pace and everything to deal with, Balassi and Saha, who on their day they're rapid, aren't they? So, we had to have someone like him in.
And Bellerin's really no slouch defensively either.
No, he definitely not today. On today's performance, he was fantastic. I thought he was brilliant getting his tackles in, like I said. So I was quite happy with that. Well, we'll wait for Clive to come back. I know he's just having a few problems here, but we'll go into some listener questions.
Absolutely.
And here we go. One sec, I had them open here. Where have they gone?
Way to be professional, James.
Yeah, I know. There they are. Right, we've got one here from Finbar at Finbar McMahon. He said, do you think that Hector Bellerin has established himself as our first choice right back, or is it just based on recent form? Well, we sort of touched on it a bit there, but what do you think, Judd? Do you think Hector's first choice now?
For me personally, I think I've seen more from Bellerin in an Arsenal kit than I've seen from Debuchy. So for me, I think he's definitely earned it, based on his body of work. Now, that said, we don't get to see what happens in training, so perhaps, Debuchy's really been the standout, more, skilled player in training, and that's why there's the selection dilemma for Wenger. But for me, I think he's established himself as the first option. I think it should be his spot to lose. But it's one of those, it's a good problem to have, as the cliche goes, that you've got such a hard selection to make. So, and there's going to be a point sometime in the season where we're going to need to cover, be it through suspension, rest, fatigue, or God forbid injury. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people are saying that they, after last week, they've been a bit harsh on Debuchy. I, by all means, don't think he's rubbish. I think he's a very, very good defender, very good right back. But I just think at the moment, the way we're playing and the system that we're doing, it suits Bellerin more. And you get in on your performances, and he's not dropping a bollock, as they say, and he's playing well, so keep him in.
Yeah, he's definitely been very consistent. So.
Well, we've got a question here from Adnan, always do, good old Adnan, and he's put, Ox at the right wing is a real threat. Who would you drop to accommodate him, Ramsey or Santi, or keep both and drop Coquelin? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think anyone's going to drop Coquelin.
No, I couldn't see that. For me right now, that is a tough one. Ramsey, I think, on his day is the more standout player over Santi, but Santi's the more consistent performer.
Yeah.
So I value consistency higher, just because you're less likely to have that mare of a game out of them. So then you're more likely to at least get a result in the tough, close fought games. That could be the difference between a 1-1 or losing 2-1. It's just getting that consistent play from center mids. So for me, if I had to pick just one of them, it would be Ramsey. It's one of those hypothetical questions, but it's going to wind up in reality being a rotation probably. Yeah.
Well, we've got Clive back now. Clive, I'll ask you again about who your man of the match was. So I know we had a little problem there. So if you want to just fill in on who you would have picked for your man of your match.
Yeah, I thought it was a much better collective performance, really. The one that sort of stood out for me was probably, I just heard Judd speak about it, was Santi Cazorla. Ozil had some great stats, but I still want to see a little bit more impact from him. I thought Cazorla, he's the brain of our team, basically, in my opinion, and he's turning into our Xavi at the moment. He's the one that sets us all off. He's the one that spreads the play. He's the one that gets out of tight situations. And then he's quite efficient on the ball, and I keep speaking about this efficiency that we're having. We're making chances and we're just not finishing them off. I was looking at all the summer videos of all the compilations that were coming around of Cazorla and Ozil and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Wonderful videos that are out there on Twitter by people like Arsenal Editor and Callum Davis. Great stuff, man. And when I watch them, the first thing I think of in all these videos is how many of this beautiful play leads to goals? And it's just not enough. And I think Santi epitomises efficiency of the ball. I think Ramsey's got a little step to go. I mean, I'm not massive on stats, right, but they are an indicator. He gave the ball away 18 times today. That's 18 times given us. So that's a lot. I know he's a risky passer, and we ask a lot of him to take offensive risks, but there's got to be an improvement there, and it's an indicator of where we need to improve. But for me, Santi Cazorla was our man of the match for me today, because I think he just provided the stability technically at the base of our midfield.
Yeah, good. And we've got a question here from the podcast zone, Jasper. He's gone, is anyone else getting properly pissed off with Ramsey's constant flicks that fail. I know, Clive, you said you wanted to jump in on this, so I'll let you go first, and then Judd, if you want to come in afterwards.
Yeah, I am getting a little pissed off with it, really. But it is part of his game, so I try and see it two ways. It's interesting how Wales use him. Wales play a centre forward, and they play Bale and Ramsey in 3 roles behind that one centre forward, and they have 3 tight midfield behind them. So what they're actually saying to Ramsey is, you just go do what you like. You and Bale go do what you like. Run where you like. Go and play. And Ramsey comes back to Arsenal and he says, I want to play centre mid. If you're going to play centre mid with Arsenal, that means you've got to be much tighter to our defensive midfield player of choice. And you can't just go where you like. So that's why Wenger plays him out. Why? Because he's got a greater opportunity to be more mobile and more rotational. And he is a sort of player that takes huge risks technically on the ball. And it's part of his plus points when it works, but it also is a massive negative when it doesn't. As I just said, giving the ball away 18 times, that to me is not good enough. And if we are we're serious, and we are serious, we've got to improve that. And I'm sure the manager will be saying to him, we've got to improve our efficiency in decision making, pass selection, shot selection in the last third. Because we're looking technically a little bit arrogant at times. And it wasn't if Conor Wickham hadn't hit the post. That could have we could have been 2-1 down, chasing that game for a draw. That could have been 1 point from 6 very, very easily. I think it's something that the team has got to improve upon, but Ramsey particularly, he just has got to improve his ability to retain the ball under pressure and make good decisions. And that's why people are veering towards Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's very bright on the eye. He's quite direct. He runs at people. He's a huge threat. I have a theory on Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'll share that one later. He's a huge threat. He can be a little bit one-dimensional in this formation also, that we ask him just to run at people, run hard at people. I think he's got more layers to his game than he's actually showing at the moment. But I think, he can... But Oxlade-Chamberlain has got his own issues around when he's closer to our goal. His ball retention is very, very poor and he loses concentration. So Wenger takes the... away from home, he goes with Ramsey. But I do think the inefficiency on the ball is a problem for us, and he needs to improve it.
And Judd, yourself?
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to what I was saying when we were asked if we should drop Ramsey or Santi. That was part of my reason for dropping Ramsey, is that he's not the consistent player, and that comes back to the fact that he's trying to take more risks with those fancy flicks. But it's up for debate what it is that really is the root problem behind that causes that. Is it because he's playing that way with Wales and he thinks he can come back and do it, or is it something that Wenger's telling him to do, that he knows that he can count on Ozil and Santi to be our more efficient midfielders, so he gives Ramsey a little bit more creative freedom and says go ahead and take those chances. But like Clive's saying, like you got to have more respect for possession. You can't be turning the ball over that much. It's just not acceptable at any level. Even if you are supposedly given the freedom to go out there and try to make things happen, you've got to be more efficient than that. Turning over the ball 18 times, man, come on. You can't have that. And then then naturally,
especially we've got better sides coming up. If
exactly.
you play 18 times against a better side,
they'll make us pay.
Yeah.
They will. We're all nervous at 2-1. And then we're looking at all the inefficient things that happen. We'll look at those players thinking, if only he'd done this and we'd be 3-1 up and I'll be happy. Do you know what I mean? So it's probably just a supporter in us. And I try to look at the other side of the coin as well. And I'm a big critic of Ramsey. And on the other side, what he does provide is a level of unpredictability. Like most games, we're just not sure where he's going to go, where he's going to pop up, what he's going to do. And Judd, you made a good point there. Ozil and Cazorla are so good on the ball. Maybe we can afford one loose one. But I don't think we can afford him to be loose at the baseline midfield, because it'll cost us goals.
No, absolutely not.
So when he plays centre mid and he's just not there, that's not good enough, So that's where he were a couple of years ago. He left Arteta to die. And how many teams broke on us, just broke on Arteta on his own. And he didn't have the legs to cover it, and we criticised Arteta. But I'm looking at his partner and say, where are you? You're scoring goals off Giroud, and you're making headlines for yourself and getting new boot deals. But you're not looking after your mate. You're not looking after your mate. And that's what I mean about the collective. Arsenal is a hugely collective team. that move the ball beautifully in a collective way. And he is part of that. Yet at times, I think he's a bit self-indulgent in how he plays. And I think he's a bit wasteful. And it's an issue, that is. And I think if Jack were fitter and more consistent and on the pitch, we've got a real debate coming.
Well, I think Ox is really starting to put his name out there too. He, especially with his preseason and the goal that he had in the Community Shield. I mean, I wouldn't be upset to see his name on the team sheet over Ramsey's right now.
Yeah, we may see it at home, Judd. In the home games, we might see that a bit more bravery because we've got to do something about our home form. We've won 1 out of 5 at home, and we are not delivering. And I was more confident we'd win away today. At home, we haven't worked it out. If you think back to Chelsea, to Swansea, to Sunderland, West Ham, these are not sparkling games. Okay, we got West Brom, we caught them. And but so we've got to work out how to play at home at the moment to get some consistency in our results because it's not good. So maybe he will go with a bit more pace out wide, a bit more dynamism rather than the ex-midfielder looking for ball control.
Yeah, and just another 2 questions here. We've got one from Evil Genius 001. He's gone, should Gabriel be given the chance now, considering how bad Koscielny has been playing? I don't know about you. I think Gabriel, I don't think we've paid 16 million just for him to learn English, that's for sure. But I don't think, considering what Koscielny done the last 2 games, he'll be dropped. What about you two?
Funny enough, the only stats I look at are who scored stats, and Koscielny was given man of the match on that. So it's quite interesting what we all remember. That's the beauty of football. We all see it different ways, right? So he made himself small on the goal. They've scored. We remember that. So we think, that's rubbish. But actually, the rest of his game was pretty good today. And he held us together. For me, it's not Koscielny. It's, again, there's a little bit of a collective lack of defensive intensity that I think will come with fitness and sharpness. But I am looking forward to the day when Gabriel gets in because I think he's a very good player. I think he's exceptional in the air and he's very intense on front foot and back foot. He's got good pace, and I'm looking forward to seeing him and Koscielny play together and see if it can work. There seems to be this sort of thought process with Wenger that he wants one raw defender with a distributor. So Mertesacker's like the calm distributor. Koscielny's the raw defender that does all the covering and all the pace and all the aggression. And behind them, he's got Gabriel, who's similar profile to Koscielny. And Chambers is a younger, calmer distributor, a bit more pace than Mertesacker. So you look at that 4. I actually would like to see Gabriel and Koscielny play, especially when we're at home, because what that does is when we overcommit at home, we're more susceptible to the break. We then got our defenders, 2 defenders at the back, 1-on-1. I much prefer that to be Gabriel and Koscielny rather than Mertesacker and Koscielny. So I'm looking at home games where Gabriel can be eased in slightly away from home when the calmness of Mertesacker, I think, is really underestimated. So I think it's time to have a level of rotation. I don't think he should be sitting on the bench much longer. He's got into the Brazil squad, I hear, this week as well. He's a good player. It won't take long to convince everybody when we see him more regularly.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's great. And Judd, what about you? What do you think?
Clive made a bunch of great points, so I'll just kind of add upon that. My only thought is, it's been 2 matches, so naturally the guys aren't going to be at, top form immediately. He's had a couple hiccups. It's unlikely that Gabriel is going to come in and be at top form either. So is it really the right time to make that change? Maybe be, a little bit more prudent, make that change if things continue like this for another 2 or 3 matches. And then going into a big match against Liverpool, I don't know if this would be the right time to make a change to the defensive pairing. It's probably not the right time to do that. Cooler heads right now. I know it's it's the beginning of the season and we dropped 2 points on opening day and everybody's already calling the title race over. That's the way Arsenal fans react sometimes, it feels like. But yeah, just a little bit more patience, give them some time to get the understanding and get back into the rhythm, and I think they'll really knock on after that.
Yeah. Well, that can add into the next question we got here. It's from Suf Tuf. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Tufella Suf. Hopefully. If I haven't, then I apologise. He's gone, how do we get this fantastic squad to finally start winning games convincingly? Is it tactics or transfers? Now, I know hopefully we're not all going to buy every player, buy all the players. I know that's not what we do. So I'll let you go first, Judd, and then Clive. What do you think it is? I think maybe, like we've always said, that we're too short. 2 players short. We need the cover for Coquelin, and then I would like another, if not a centre forward, then definitely a wide forward, Clive, like you said. But I'll let Judd go. What do you think, Judd?
I think really we're not that far off, so I'm not going to go with the transfers answer. I mean, you look at like today, we could have easily been up 3-0 in 20 minutes. We had plenty of good opportunities. I think we just need to be a little bit more ruthless in front of goal, be a little more clinical with our finishing, and then defensively, I think we're a little bit naive in the midfield at times, committing a little bit too much forward. Other than that, I mean, we are very close to having one of those games where we do go out and just run out 5-0 winners. It's just a matter of time, honestly, I feel. It feels like it's been an eternity since we've done it. But really, when you stop and think about it, the last game of last season at Wembley, it was 4-0. It was one of those convincing games that was over before it started almost. So it just, like I was saying in the last, to the last question, 2 games in, calmer heads right now, just a little bit of patience, it'll happen.
And Clive?
Yeah, Judd's well wise tonight. He's making me calm down. So I think.
Well, it's easy to be wise after a win.
Yeah. Well, you're spot on, of course, right? So with my calmer head on, right? So I think the problems are internal. I tell you, a big miss is Welbeck, to this squad. I miss his physicality and drive. We sort of we sort of take from the example of Sanchez and Welbeck and their work ethic. I think they were great additions last year, and I do miss Welbeck's presence on the pitch. I'd like to see another wide forward come in, only because of Welbeck's. He's been out a little while, and we've got 2 weeks to go to the end of the transfer window, wherever he is, and. Okay, they say he's back in training right now, but he's a very important player to this squad. And we haven't seen him for months, which means he's not going to be up to speed for another month to 6 weeks or so. So he's been out since, end of March, April. We might not see the best of him till October, November. That's a long time. That's a lot of strain on Sanchez. That's a lot of Ramsey playing right wing. I'm not saying we're short, but it only takes a couple of injuries, as we've seen, and suddenly we're in a situation where we're taking Sanchez off the beach and playing him for the last 20 minutes against West Ham. Well, we could all see he was dead. He wasn't fit to play, So we've got this big squad, but I do think I think we can cover Coquelin with the amount of central midfield players that we have in the squad. We can cover him. Maybe someone won't be as good as him, but we have the players on the team sheet to cover that position. But I do think I'd like to see another wide forward come, just so we can rotate those positions, because they're very intensive positions. We ask a lot of our wide players, and they can't play every game. So I'd like to see another wide forward come, but if it didn't happen, I'd just like to see Welbeck get back fit and ready, and then we just say, this is what we're going to go with. There's one thing I heard, I listened to Ian Wright actually, and he said, maybe Arsenal are programmed to finish 4th. I thought that's a very interesting statement. The word programmed. I thought there comes a point where we have to change our thought process and change it now to say we're not going to finish 4th or 3rd, but we're going to finish 1st. And I think last week was a real lesson for us about if you don't prepare yourself properly. I don't just blame the players on this. I blame the coaching and the amount of training they did for everyone to be so poor. It's a club's issue rather than the players' issue. We've got to get into these games and really start to say we're here and we mean business. And that's the biggest thing I want to see change, really, that we change the programming in our club to be about first and not about qualifying for European competitions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very, very true. Well, we get a nice little break now. Obviously, Saturday, Sunday will be boring without Arsenal playing, but we go on to a Monday night game. Padlock your socks because the Scousers are in town. If it's not nailed down, they'll take it. How do you see this going, guys? And line-up wise, you can probably pick the back five, pick Coquelin and Cazorla, obviously. But do you think Ramsey will start again, or do you think Chamberlain will finally get a go? And do you think maybe he'll start Walcott? I think Giroud does quite well against Liverpool. He's got quite a few goals against Liverpool, so maybe he'll stick with Giroud again. And like we contained Benteke for Aston Villa in the final, if we can do a job like that again against Liverpool, I think we'll be all right. Predictions wise, I'm going to go for 3-1. I think we need a proper performance at home to get that West Ham stuff finally over and really kick on. I think we're going to win 3-1.
For me, I'm slightly less confident. I think, I'd really like to see us get a clean sheet. I think we need that from a defensive standpoint, and to kind of calm people down a little bit about Czech and Koscielny. I'll go with a 2-0. I think we've got the talent that we've got the results against Benteke in the past. We know how to defend against him. We've got the people that can make it happen. It's just a matter of going out there and executing again. And we need to get something positive going on at home. And I think that this would be a really good time for that to happen. So I'm hopeful. I'm going to go with 2-0. Selection-wise, I've given up on trying to predict what Wenger's going to start years ago. Honestly, with Giroud or Walcott, I could see this being a type of game where Walcott's going to have more opportunities to get behind the defense on a counter. And also, I think it could be a game where a player like Giroud with his hold-up play is going to be beneficial, helping bring those wide players into the attack. So I could see it going either way. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ox get out instead of Ramsey, but at the same token, wouldn't be surprised if we didn't make that change right now.
I hope we have a bit more natural width. Really, I think Liverpool just to go for them. Let's. I want to go for the jugular and finish a team off properly. You talk about, we had the question about more convincing wins. I just want to see us stuff somebody.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always a big occasion. I was so happy with
it last season. I just hope that we can we can recreate it, because I can't stand Liverpool, as most people know.
Neither.
But Clive, sorry about earlier. I know something went wrong there, but how do you see this all going?
I'll just say Liverpool are very workmanlike with Milner back in the team now, and I think they a lot of reliance on Coutinho, and he's got one move where he shapes in and he gets onto his right foot and he takes early shots. I think Liverpool are an interesting club, right? They're almost like from a playing style, they're quite similar to us in some respects, but the players are just not quite as good. But they are, they've got a lot of names on the team sheets. They've got a lot of what I call decent names, but they don't quite produce it. I think it's important, but Liverpool showed against Stoke they're up for the fight. I think it'll be interesting when they play Bournemouth tomorrow, what they actually do. I don't want to say it's going to be easy. I think we've got a problem at home. I don't think we're that efficient at home. Liverpool was maybe an anomaly. In West Brom, we played very, very well. I want to see Arsenal fix the problem we have at home. And he's got to change how he plays. And I don't think playing with ex-midfielders is going to help. I think he's got to play a lot more width, a lot more pace. I think he's got to challenge teams and stretch teams more. I think Wenger's got to fix that one, because we're dropping too many home points in the last few months. And that's a trend. That's not a second game of the season thing, Judd, so I'm going to worry about that one. So this started last.
Yeah, it has kind of carried over, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we've got to fix it. And so it'd be interesting to see how he does that. Away from home, I feel really confident that we're going to produce. At home, with less space to run into, less transitions. We've got to work out a style to beat the bus. We haven't done it yet.
All right, well, I'll wrap it up there, guys. So thank you so much, Clive, for coming on.
Oh, mate, thank you. Sorry about the Skype.
No worries, it's all good, And Judd, thank you very much as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
No worries. Well, hopefully we will, well, not hopefully, we probably will win next week, I hope. And we'll be back on probably Monday, have the podcast out Tuesday. So keep subscribing, on the SoundCloud, on the Facebook, on the Twitters, on the Periscope. We're pretty much on every Instagram. I forgot. I don't know. Has a new app been released that we're on yet?
Not that I'm aware of, but you never know.
We've got a Tinder. We got everything now, haven't we? We cover it all. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and good night.